The Fool springs from the world and universe, from the final tarot trump of number 22 to the first of 0. The essence of the universe is that of the cosmic dancer, the symbolic hermaphrodite, a perfected, total being who, having reached enlightenment, is enlightenment itself. The two are equal. This cosmic dancer, having come full circle, returns to the beginning of what is now a new cycle of seasons. The end is the beginning. The destination is the journey. Our innocent, returning fool, the spiritual hermaphrodite, is born right there where about to walk off the precipice, carrying not a bag of misconceptions and prejudices and haunting memories, but of timeless insights and wisdom and magical tools gained through the last cycle, which he has forgotten he carries. The Fool's astrotheological origins are in the Bootes constellation. This figure has long been considered a shepherd or herdsman who eternally chases the Great Bear constellation around the North Star, Polaris. Behind him is Canis Venatici, the dogs, and before him is the Corona Borealis, the origin of the Holy Grail, prompting him to walk off the cliff and pursue the Grail quest. Beneath the Grail is the Serpent, the Serpens Caput constellation. Depending on the actions and intentions of the Grail's pursuer, the serpent can be either danger or aid along the way, friend or foe, medicine or poison. The mountain itself our fool is about to leap from, his foundation is Virgo. Our cosmic dancer of the world or universe card, depending which tarot deck you're using, is Virgo. During the winter solstice, it is her constellation which gives birth to the sun. All things spring from the perpetual virgin, from innocence, and so we leap away.
Hi. Welcome back.
I will follow the sun through the zodiac, and as each sign is illuminated, I will seek to discover its inner meanings and its message. At each station, a new adventure and a cosmic truth revealed.
This is not a new world. It is simply an extension of what began in the old one.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
All is now known, but nothing is revealed. This is the mystery of the arch-fool at the base of the tree of life and the pure fool at its apex. This is what is meant by Jesus continually referring to us becoming like children. Not so priests could rule our lives, but so that we could learn afresh how to rule ourselves. And so, if we have achieved an enlightenment in our personal reality that has left us purified of all delusion and certain only of the divine continuance of our consciousness, How do we learn to drive the chariot of immortality?
Choose a card and place it here. The Fool. Is that you or me? You're completely unaware of future events. But you're going to tell me about it, aren't you?
Do you know who I am?
I'm drawing a blank.
Well, take a guess. Let him guess,
No, I don't know. You seem to be some kind of vigilante.
Well, that happens along the way, of course. Here's a clue.
Hood ornament.
No. I'm a knight on a special quest. And I need help.
Quest.
That's why they sent you.
I wish to be amused. Bring me my fool.
The fool is the person who doesn't know enough to come in out of the rain, who doesn't compete. Everybody else gets before him to the prizes, the material prizes of life, and even to the spiritual prizes. The fool is, you see, the person who isn't going anywhere. He sits by the road and goes... So the fool has always been used as a kind of analog of the sage. There's a Hindu verse which says, sometimes naked, sometimes mad. Now as a scholar, now as a fool, thus they appear on earth, the free men. When a Taoist sage is wandering through the forest, he isn't going anywhere. He's just wandering. When he watches the clouds, he loves them because they have no special destination. He watches birds moving around. He watches the waves lapping on the shore. And just because all this is not busy in the way that human beings are busy, because it serves no end other than being what it is now.
It is perpetual. And it's a formula that is repeated over and over again, once you have the eyes to see it. As R.D. Laing said, insanity is a perfectly normal, response to an insane environment.
Of course, the story has been preserved, but it's been preserved in the minstrel tradition, music, poetry, the bardic tradition, the story of the forest god, and the story of the ancient ways, and of the harpist, and of the piper, and of moral rectitude.
The higher self is working overtime to wake you up from a delirium. You're caught within the roles, you're caught within that scaffolding, you're caught in the cage of the inauthentic life. You are miles away from your dharma and your inauthentic existence. You've had everyone from your parents to your peers to your fellow friends, so-called friends, teachers, politicians and priests and the whole world erase your individuality. So of course you're going to be screaming inside. Let's hope that those dark forces that are banging on your door get in. You may be so personally traumatized that when they come in you die from shock. Well, too bad. That's the price we're willing to pay.
Take away the fool, gentlemen.
What think you of this fool?
See, the unconscious always shines back the face that looks into it. That's why the greatest symbol of the unconscious is the mirror. Because the face that the unconscious takes on, or they say more specifically, the face that the content of the unconscious takes on when it comes into consciousness, is predicated upon your own ego defenses. Meaning that what you look into is like this atomic level thing. The face that looks into the unconscious is reflected back. So if the face that's looking into the unconscious is fearful, pathological, toxic, scared, etc., content will take on that shape.
Once you have that free attitude and your face that you shine into the mysteries is a fearless face, you go in there without any fear, and then fear will not follow you. And you'll meet the angels, you'll meet the guides.
Without this kind of person, we should lose our sanity. We should become confused with our roles. The true end of man is to play the game of hide and seek for a while and to get lost in these roles, but then to return back to nature, back to the way of the forest, and in later life, as distinct from infancy, with all that experience behind you, find out again who you really are, so that when death comes, what a funny thing will happen. Death comes and will find no one to kill. For while you are identified with your role, with your name, with your ego, there's someone to kill. But when you're identified with the whole universe, death finds you already annihilated.
The Fool's journey gets you to experience being the Fool and taking you through and meeting all of the major arcana in turn. So that people get to experience what it feels like to be the Fool and to go through the major arcana, which is our journey in life. Through that, you get to really understand, and through your own experiences, at a deep level, initiate yourself into the tarot. And the major arcana becomes something that's within you, that's understood deeply within, rather than something that's trying to be grasped at and understood from the outside.
You see, a man who can come off it, who may make a terrific case for some point of view, but has a certain twinkle in his eye. You see, this is a true human being, and has what Confucius would call this is human-heartedness. And that is human-heartedness because it is at the heart of the nature of things, and the nature of things is play.
Now, all kinds of things in nature, whether we realize it or not, have their magical overtones. There is nothing that we can look at, nothing we can touch, that does not have mystery in it. The soul then has the power to instruct the mind. The mind then interprets this instruction according to its own integrities and its own level of development. And the individual has a thought. He has an idea. He suddenly has a realization. He has a belief that he did not have before.
One day, a fool wandered into the castle and found the king alone. Now, being a fool, he was simple-minded. He didn't see a king. He only saw a man alone and in pain. And he asked the king, "What ails you, friend?" The king replied, "I'm thirsty. I need some water to cool my throat." So the fool took a cup from beside his bed, filled it with water, and handed it to the king. And as the king began to drink, he realized his wound was healed. He looked in his hands, and there was the Holy Grail, that which he sought all of his life. He turned to the fool and said with amazement, "How could you find that which my brightest and bravest could not?" The fool replied, "I don't know. I only knew that you were thirsty."
You work with the universe, but first you have to be tutored by that universe.
You Franciscans, however, belong to an order where merriment is viewed with indulgence.
Yes, it's true. St. Francis was much disposed to laughter.
Laughter is a devilish wind, which deforms the lineaments of the face and makes men look like monkeys.
Monkeys do not laugh. Laughter is particular to man.
As a sin. Christ never laughed.
Can we be so sure?
There is nothing in the scriptures to say that he did.
And there's nothing in the scriptures to say that he did not. Why, even the saints have been known to employ comedy to ridicule the enemies of the faith. For example, when the pagans plunged St. Maurus into the boiling water, he complained that his bath was too cold. The Sultan put his hand in and scalded himself.
A saint immersed in boiling water does not play childish tricks. He restrains his cries and suffers for the truth.
And yet, Aristotle devoted his second book of Poetics to comedy as an instrument of truth.
Wit, and be thy will, put me into good fooling. Those wits that think they have thee do very oft prove fools, and I, that am sure I lack thee, may pass for a wise man. But what says Quinapolus? Better a witty fool than a foolish wit. bless thee, lady.
Take the fool away.
Do you not hear, fellows? Take away the lady.
This is some fellow who, having been praised for bluntness, doth affect a saucy roughness. He cannot flatter, he, an honest mind, plain. He must speak truth, and they will take it so. If not, he's plain.
Sir, under the allowance of your great aspect, whose influence, like the wreath of radiant fire on flickering Phoebus' front.
What means by this?
To go out of my dialect, which you discommend so much.
Hath the knights of the round table turned chicken?
Only a fool would go after the singing sword.
A good idea, fool.
Wow.
Unless you bring back the singing sword, you will be put to the rack, burned at the stake, and beheaded.
Beheaded?
There's a figure in American Indian myth that represents this power of the dynamic of the total psyche to overthrow programs. This is the negative aspect, and it's called a trickster. It's a very, very important figure in American Indian mythologies. In the East, in the forest lands of the Northeast and Southeast, it's the great hare, a rabbit. When you go west of the Mississippi in the plains lands, it's coyote. You get up in the northwest coast, and it's raven. These are smart, clever birds and animals. Now, it's a great puzzler to well-trained Christians to come across the trickster hero, because he's both a kind of devil and fool and the creator of the world. And so he comes in as an upsetting factor. He breaks through. He even breaks through the notion of what a deity ought to be. And this, I think, is about as good an example as you can find anywhere of the trickster hero. Now, that trickster trait turns up in deities like Yahweh. Yahweh's a trickster. He lets people build a building, and then because it gets to be 3 stories high, he's afraid it's going to wreck heaven, and he comes down and floods the world. That's a trickster stunt. That's a ridiculous act. And we think it quite normal for a deity to behave that way. If a human being behaved that way, we would send him to a lunatic asylum. And here you have the deity coming through as the trickster, as the destroyer, as the disruptor of programs. Yahweh's full of this kind of thing.
It's sudden, complete, and dramatic.
A donkey teaching the scriptures to the bishops. The Pope is a fox. The abbot is a monkey.
I am that only folly that so readily and indifferently bestows my benefits on all.
And he has a funny look in his eyes, a curious twinkle. And you can feel those eyes going right through you, not with judgment, not with condemnation, but with a kind of a wicked, humane twinkle. In other words, it says, listen, buddy, don't fool me. I know who you are. And you say, who, me? Why, I'm just little me. I'm not a very important person. I'm just a poor little human, like in Hausmann's verse, I, a stranger and afraid in a world I never made. Looks at you and says, old Shiva, don't give me that stuff. I know who you are in your million masks. That's the technique, you see, of the awakeners who kid us out of our egocentricity.
We need
to become entrepreneurs for the sake of having a sense of fulfillment in life, for the sake of doing something creative, just for the sake of creation itself. When you decide to awaken your creative consciousness, the doors of expression, the doors of creativity, literally the floodgate of ideas will come to you.
Right there. See it? What? The Grail. The Holy Grail.
Understand thou this, that the summit of wisdom is the opening of the way that leadeth unto the crown and essence of all. This is the path of the pure fool. In the worship of Bacchus, there was a representative of the god, and he was chosen for his quality as a young and virile but effeminate man. In the course of the centuries, the worship naturally became degraded. Other ideas joined themselves to the original form, and partly because of the orgiastic character of the ritual, the idea of the fool took definite shape. Hence, he came to be represented with a fool's cap, evidently phallic and clad in motley, which again recalls the coat of many colors worn by Jesus and by Joseph. This symbolism is not only mercurial, but zodiacal. Joseph and Jesus, with 12 brothers or 12 disciples, equally represent the sun in the midst of the 12 signs. It was only very much later that any alchemical significance was attributed to this, and that at a time when the Renaissance scholars made rather a point of finding something serious and important in symbols which were, in reality, quite frivolous.
If magic has a physical application, then it is to get rid of those false understandings about the world. William Blake referred to it as mind-forged manacles.
Get up and go follow it. Go follow the call of your soul. Stop talking about, I ain't got money, I ain't got, my husband won't let me, my wife won't let me, my job, I'm working my job. They might not let me off. What does any of that have to do with your soul? I mean, stop it. Stop. You are shackling your soul. You're just so freaking faithless. Can I just put it out there like it really is? You're faithless, boo. You're faithless. And if you're faithless, how can you get the prize? How can you get the gold? How can you get the thing that your soul wants to give you if you're faithless? All this stuff comes to people of extreme faith. You want to walk on water, but you won't get out the boat. You won't never know if you can walk on water or not if you're sitting inside the boat. Oh, I sure wish I could walk on water. Oh, Peter looks great. Oh, if I could just do that, that'd be great. Yeah, but my job doesn't let me walk on water. Let me ask my boss if I can get time off to walk on water. Oh, but I don't have money to walk on water. What the hell is that? That doesn't even sound right. It's bizarre. And if you're doing that to yourself, stop it. Stop it.
People who can cut through these many, many illusions, the illusion of materialism, the illusion of business as usual, the illusion of benevolent institutions carefully guiding us toward reasonable destinies. If you cut through all that, if you disabuse yourself of all that, you will empower yourself to eventually be able to stand up in delicate social and political situations and just say, bullshit. That's bullshit.
You know, it's so important here in the 12th century to improvise. Do you know what I'm talking about? Improvisation. In other words...
Derived from that word improvisaturum, meaning to put chrome on caca, yes? To juggle nothing, to take that which is not there and make something, to actually whittle from the down and go upon and not get time, to talk like this for no reason and make people think you have some reason. No, I don't do that very much, but I can.
Now, the dharmic person is somebody who doesn't even, he hasn't even thought about that. He is so motivated. Mm. He realizes that life has no meaning. Mm. It only has the meaning you give it. Mm. Man is a meaning machine. He's meant to bring meaning from within himself and bring it out onto the world. Otherwise, life will have no meaning. Or if you don't want to do that, then happily take the pre-packaged, pre-digested, literally packaged, formulaic stuff that is provided for you. Here is your TV dinner. Here, sir, is your meal. You know what I mean? Just slide the card, and here it is. We give you your meaning.
At what rate soever the world talks of me, for I am not ignorant what an ill report folly has got, even among the most foolish, yet that I am that she, that only she, whose deity recreates both gods and men, even this is a sufficient argument, that I no sooner stepped up to speak to this full assembly, than all your faces put on a kind of new and unwonted pleasantness. So suddenly have you cleared your brows, and with so frolic and hearty a laughter given me your applause, that in truth as many of you as I behold on every side of me seem to me no less than Homer's gods drunk with nectar and nepenthe, whereas before you sat as lumpish and pensive as if you had come from consulting an oracle. And, as it usually happens when the sun begins to show his beams, or when after a sharp winter the spring breathes afresh on the earth, all things immediately get a new face, new colour, and recover as it were a certain kind of youth again.
Within each living being is the principle of the divine power itself. Therefore, locked within him is a divine wisdom that he doesn't understand. He doesn't know. The power of life within himself is the power of deity, in which rests the premonition of all things. The determination of the existence of every living thing rests in the divine. A spark of this divine is in each of us.
The medium of air is much more fluid than the medium of water. And as we fly, you see, on the land, your values are all values of permanence, solidity, firmness. They're architectonic in the sense of our great stone structures, pyramids and things like that. But in the air and on the water, all values are fluid. And what you have to know to be a good airman is, of course, stars. Like whitethroats and other migrating birds migrate by the stars. Imagine. But once you start relating yourself to the stars, you realize that you're living in a universe where directions are all relative. And you become a being capable of existing in non-solidity.
Fortune, good night. Smile once more. Turn thy wheel.
There's an inherent paradox which must be noted. And that is that on a circle, you are at every single point on that circle. So that means then that although you think you're walking a straight line towards a definable goal down there, on a circle, you are at the ending point at every step you take, because you're on a circle that one day will fold back Ouroboros-like on itself. Didn't T.S. Eliot say, in our endings is our beginning? The journey is the enlightening thing, not the goal that you're going to attain. That's an illusion, that's a chimera, that's the idea you have today at this corner of the forest path. When you go around the next bend, you may have a totally different conception of the goal.
But where you are right now is the important thing.
Definitely.
The fool is the message, is that, and that's why he has a cliff in front of him. That's why there's a precipice right in front of him. They're trying to emphasize the fact that there is no road. As you walk, you create your road.
Watch out for the Draco who cometh in futurum to gnaw on your anima.
La morte è suprenos.
You contemplate l'Apocalypse, hein? Là-bas, nous avons il diavolo, hein? Ugly comme Salvatore, hein? My little brother, penitenziagite!
Master, what language was he speaking?
All languages, and none.
For my own part, let other men judge of what I have written, though yet, unless an overweening opinion of myself may have made me blind in my own cause, I have praised folly, but not altogether foolishly.
Oh, fascinating. Well, that's you, quite obviously. An amazing resemblance. Tell me, am I in there as well?
Pick a card. Hand it over. You have found yourself.
There's a beginning stage of not knowing, and there's an ending stage of not knowing. In the beginning stage, you don't know what you want because you haven't thought about it, or you've only thought superficially. Then when somebody forces you to think about it and go through and say, yeah, I think I'd like this, I think I'd like that, I think I'd like the other, there's the middle stage. Then you get beyond that. Say, is that what I really want? In the end you say, no, I don't think that's it. Basically, what I really want is what you want. And I don't know what you want. Surprise me. Just so long as you can be talked out of yourself. You deserve to be.